Hello everyone, my name's Verity and I usually post shorts about books. However, today I woke up and decided to choose violence, and by that I mean a long form video. This is a pretty long video, so watch it while eating dinner, organizing your bookshelf, or just sitting on your bed. So sit back and relax while I rank 40 of the most popular book talk books that I have read so far. And before we begin, I would like to say that this is my personal opinion, and if you have something that differs from my point of view, go ahead and comment down below. Don't forget to also like, share, and subscribe. So first of all, we get to the tiers. My Shayla rated books are my favorite on the entire planet. I don't think I could get through my life without rereading one of them at least once. OMG, Don't Make Me Cry Again, I loved it. This tier usually means I did cry during the books, not just silent weeping tears. I mean full-on Percy Jackson water storms or whatever else he does. I have only read the first book, by the way. But seriously, I love these books, but there was probably something that kept me from putting it in the first tier. This one is kind of a gray area in this case. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. The title explains itself. This tier does have a few different meanings. Either I DNF'd it at some point, it remains DNF'd, or I didn't like the book very much. Most likely results from the book being too slow and repetitive. It means exactly what it says. Get out of my sight now means that I probably can't stand looking at one line of the book before calling Environmental Protection Services for all the trees that died making the paper that was wasted in printing the book. That's a mouthful. But anyways, I mean all of this in a friendly and joking way, so please don't take this for granted. Moving on to actually ranking the books, they're organized by the genre and the author. I don't have the mental energy to go and sort and alphabetically organize all 40 books by the author's last names, so please just bear with me here. Fourth Wing is an absolute classic for the romantasy genre, and I give it a place at I loved it. Very fast paced, and each page was a word closer to Xaden Ryerson. However, the later books started to become very confusing until I lost the plot, so that's why I didn't make it into the first tier. ACOTAR is a great book for beginners to slightly get into the more darker fantasy romance kind of books. But it's honestly just a knockoff of the Hunger Games and the Triwizard Tournament in my opinion. If you're into plagiarism, you'll like this one. So I guess I'll give it neither good nor bad because I do think that some of these elements were original, so that bumps it up one tier. Okay, so Once Upon a Broken Heart is somewhat like a lighter, more whimsical fantasy. I like this one, but it felt boring and slow. I'm pretty sure it took me so long to finish this book that the edges of the foil on the covers were starting to peel off. I'd say neither good nor bad because Stephanie Garber's writing style is one of my favorites, and the way she describes fantasy elements in her books is an absolute chef's kiss. Caraval is really similar to Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I felt like the books were getting worse as the series persisted, unlike Once Upon a Broken Heart, where the series got better as it went on. The first book was actually really good, so I would give it a I loved it. Ooh, Dance with Thieves. So I love the plot of this book so much. It was very interesting, but I kind of thought the writing was slow sometimes, especially in the second book. But all in all, I loved it so much, especially Jace Ballinger. This would go into OMG Don't Make Me Cry Again. I loved it because I did cry, mainly for Kazi and how bad I felt for her in the second book. Here's a personal fact about The Cruel Prince for me. It was around the second book talk book I've read, except that my Goodreads says otherwise. This still remains one of my favorite books, so I would put it in the first tier, My Shayla. Powerless, powerless, powerless. This book has been all over book talk and it's taking over the internet by storm. Though the book is very popular and nicely written, I would have to put it in I loved it and not My Shayla. This book copied so many aspects of other books like the selection and the Hunger Games. Many people said it plagiarized Red Queen, but I haven't read that yet, so I'll have to get to it later. Crave is not that popular on social media, but it still felt right to put in the tier list. If you like Twilight, you would definitely like this one. I love this book, so it's going in that tier. Belladonna is a book I'm currently reading right now, and though I haven't read much of it, I still really like it. Since I don't know the rest of the book yet, I think I'll have to put in neither good nor bad until I finish it. Twilight is an absolute classic in book talk and in the film world. When I first read it, I didn't really like it, but after watching the movies, I continued reading and watching all day. This book still has me waiting for Edward Cullen to ask me if I like the weather. Undoubtedly, it's going in My Shayla. Moving on to the romance genre, we're going with Better Than the Movies, and it was also my first rom-com read. Of course, it's going in My Shayla. You could say this book is one of my favorites, and it also contains Wes Bennett, so that makes it 10 times better. Betting on You is another Lynn Painter novel that many people loved, but I thought the writing style was slightly immature and humorous. The romance part of it made me gain secondhand embarrassment, but I think my distaste for this book stemmed from my very high expectations after reading Better Than the Movies. Wisconsin, I dislike it for the said reasons above. I don't think I necessarily hate this, but I don't think I really liked it either. I know the show Semi Turned Pretty is very popular and I watched all of it. Unfortunately, I've only read the first book and I'm gonna have to put it in I dislike it. I didn't like the writing that much and the protagonist, Belly, was giving me the ick. Okay, here's where it gets spicy. Colleen Hoover is a very controversial author on social media. I honestly think that she's a great author, but the plot and descriptions can be a little bit unnecessary. It Ends With Us, in my opinion, is actually a good book. I put it in I loved it. I know there's some rumors circulating around her as a person and how she romanticizes abuse. However, I think that her original intent for writing this book was to spread awareness about abuse, and it did exactly just that. I speculate that she wasn't trying to romanticize abuse, but correct me if I'm wrong nicely in the comments, please. Don't come at me for placing this above Once Upon a Broken Heart, please. I know the last book that we talked about from Colleen was something I enjoyed, but November 9 was just not okay. The first view of Ben was actually disgusting, and what he did that was revealed later in the book was even more vile. I'm putting this in Get Out of My Sight now. Checkmate is my first and only Ali Hazelwood read, but I do plan to read more. I really liked it, but there was no real romance in the book, so I was slightly disappointed, but I still really liked it. It's going to I loved it. 1,000 Boy Kisses used to be my favorite book. Now, after reading some other books, it's still one of my favorites, but not at the top anymore. When rereading it recently, I noticed how much of a jerk and how possessive Rune can be. I think that he overreacted when he heard the news from his father. This book still has a huge place in my heart, so it's going in my Shayla. Yes, I did cry buckets while reading this. Happy Place actually won the 2023 Goodreads Choice Best Romance Book Award, but I didn't actually like it that much. Getting Back With Your Ex, really, it might just be me, but I hate second chance tropes that don't include Kai Azar. I think this book would fit best in I Hated It. My Shayla, hands down, no doubt at all. Every Sam is a beautifully written novel that made me cry my eyes out until I had no tears left in me. If You Had Been With Me is a very tearful novel for the public, but I disliked it a lot. It was very slow and the sad part wasn't written in a very miserable way. The sequel was just a little bit better though. I would put it in I Hated It. The Fault in Our Stars is a very loved book talk book, and I love it too. The plot was interesting and likable. The beginning of the book was usually really funny and made me laugh a lot, while the sad part was actually really sad. It goes in Don't Make Me Cry Again, I loved it. Everybody loves normal people, and I do too. That's why it goes into the second tier. One thing I did notice was a lack of quotation marks on the dialogue, and I was kind of going crazy trying to read this format. Once I got used to it, it got a lot better. Connell wasn't the best character, but he's likable. Now, with the thrillers and mysteries, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden is currently in development for a film, and I'm really excited about it. Frida's thrillers are always the best, and this one was also really great. It's going in the second tier. I cannot say how excited I am for the film to be released. Never Lies, another Frida thriller I have read. I love this one, and the plot twist was amazing. This had me reading till midnight every day. Obviously, it's going in my Shayla. The most recently published book that Frida McFadden has released is The Intruder, and I read it a few weeks ago. Same with all of her other books, it's super addictive and twisty. I would recommend it to you if you like to read scary stories during spooky season. It goes into I loved it. A YA mystery this time, and an old face of book talk. Of course, it's The Inheritance Games. It had very shocking turns and plot twists, so it's definitely going in my Shayla. Jamison and Grayson take the spotlight here. Okay, so here it is, my favorite book series of all time, The Naturals. It even has my favorite book boyfriend, Dean Redding. He's the standard. The books in this series I liked the most were All In or Bad Blood. I can't decide. It's going in my Shayla, but also in front of all the other books because I love it so much. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was where I started my love for thriller books. It was fast-paced and I read it all in one night. If you're looking for a book to start to get into suspenseful mystery books, I would recommend this one. My Shayla all the way. After reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I had high hopes for Not Quite Dead Yet. I do still love this book on one end, but I just ended up being really disappointed. With both sides of loving and having too much excitement for this book, I would put it in neither good nor bad. As my favorite TV show, We Were Liars is also a book that I really loved. It's going in my Shayla. I cannot stress how much I cried at the end of the show and how devastated I was at the end of the book. Here's another controversial Colleen Hoover book. Everybody who loves thrillers seems to love Verity, and everybody else who read her other books seems to hate it. Like I mentioned in the beginning, my name really is Verity, but for clarification, I'm not named after this book. The movie is in production right now, and I'm really excited for it. It being my name book, a great thriller, and having nice writing, I would put it in my Shayla. The Silent Patient is a book that's way overrated on thriller pages, and it doesn't even have that good of a plot twist. It was boring and it was confusing. This is a very debatable opinion of mine, and with all that said, it's going in the last tier. Following the last rating, One of Us is Lying is going to join The Silent Patient in the last tier. It wasn't very interesting, it was slow, and the twist at the end was very underwhelming. It was supposed to be shocking, but I couldn't help but compare it to where a character wakes up and they find out it's all a dream. Very anticlimactic for a book that's supposed to be mind-blowing. We now have a short section of historical fiction, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is first. It's nice and scandalous, and you would love it if you like gossip and drama. It did make me cry, and I loved it, so it's going in the second tier. Book Thief was beautifully written and heartbreaking. I'm still attached to these characters to this day, and I just kind of can't get over the ending. My Shayla, it is. The Hunger Games could be called a modern classic at this point. I think that the plot and the general idea was amazing, but I just can't get over the writing. I DNF'd Mockingjay and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before finally finishing it. The first book wasn't the worst, so I would put it in I loved it. Sunrise on the Reaping is a prequel to The Hunger Games about Haymitch's Games, which is the second quarter quell or the 50th Hunger Games. I honestly love this book so much, so it's going in my Shayla. I was also devastated at the ending, even though I knew it was coming. Third to last, The Selection. I was rooting for Maxim the entire time, and it absolutely paid off. It's going into my Shayla. This is a ranking that I know everybody wanted me to do, and a book that everybody wanted me to read. It's Shatter Me. I didn't like this as much as everybody else did, but I think it's just because it's the first book and there wasn't much Aaron Warren in it. Believe me, I had to deal with Adam for the entire book. I feel like this is a very low rating compared to what others would have ranked it, and it's going neither good nor bad. When I continue the rest of the series, I'll hopefully give it a better rating, as Aaron Warner will be on the pages instead of Adam Kent. Last but not least, here's Girl in Pieces. It was written excellently and poetically, with the words having some hidden symbolism behind them. The only problem was that the book was hard to get through, so it lowers the ranking down to Don't Make Me Cry Again, I Loved It. That concludes my rating of 40 Book Talk books I have read. Just another reminder, this is my own opinion, and feel free to share yours too. Have a nice rest of your day, and let me know if you like these long form videos or not. Thank you!